Smoke and Shadow Part 3. Wow, what a situation we find ourselves in here. From what we saw from parts 1 and 2, this could end up being the second best in the entire series of comics. It could also end up being the front-to-back worst one, if you ask me. It all comes down to how Part 3 ties things together. The Ukano plotline, the main Zuko drama, the Azula revelation, there's a lot to get right, or a lot to get wrong, so let's see how things shape up. So we start back up right where we left off, the masked and hooded Azula versus the gang. We actually see her fire lightning with both hands here, which isn't something we've ever seen her do. The only person we've seen do that is Ozai. Zuko goes to classically redirect the lightning, but from what I can tell from the art, the lightning splits in two directions as Azula bends it around Zuko trying to redirect it, and then reconnects to crash into him. So add another Azula can genuinely bend lightning now trick. And of course, even though Zuko was hit about as squarely as he could have been, he's knocked down for one panel, and then he literally says he's okay. But she's strong again, whatever that means. Remember that time Azula killed Aang in the Avatar state with a bolt of lightning? Just one. Instant death. Anyone? Suki tackles Azula, and Ty Lee tries to get some hits in too, but the two most skilled hand-to-hand fighters fighting side by side still seem to be outmatched by Azula. Azula jumps like 4 stories upwards onto the roof of the palace to rejoin her sisters in crime, and she didn't even do like a boiling rock rocket jump or anything. The art makes it seem like the smoke the Kamuri Kage are always cloaked in did most of the legwork for that jump. I might need an explanation on that one, but with that, the Kamuri Kage are gone, Ki along with them. This is interesting though, as the fight went, they accused the Kamuri Kage of being Azula, but the Kamuri Kage was dead silent. She didn't confirm or deny it, leaving open the long shot possibility that maybe it's not Azula. Then again, we get a shot here of her pants, and that does look like an Azula outfit. Ursa comes outside to find her daughter gone, the Fire Lord, the Avatar, and 2 Kyoshi warriors unable to keep her safe. And I'm not gonna lie, if I was Zuko, I might be like, so Aang, weird question, I couldn't help but notice that you didn't go into the Avatar state while my little sister was being kidnapped, so did you not think it was warranted, or? It's the next morning now, and Zuko is being briefed on the occurrences of last night. 4 more kidnappings, making for 13 in total. May's here too, and gives Zuko a hug, and oh, get over it, Kalo, the guy's sister just got kidnapped, let her hug the guy. So we need to give May the rundown on what happened. One of them threw weather at us last night, so that means, but May says lightning bending, is rare, but it's not that rare. I don't know, it seemed pretty rare. We only saw the tippy top of the Masters perform it before this. I really hate the demystification the comics are trying to pull with lightning, man, it sucks. But Ty Lee comments it wasn't just that, it was how she moved, and Ty Lee's face here says it all. The day both her and May were dreading in part 1 of this book has come to pass. Azula's back. Zuko reaffirms it was Azula, but May asks why she would be doing this, and everyone's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Except for Zuko, who simply says she's Azula, that's reason enough. Which is a really weird line from Zuko, right? After that entire comic of him trying to treat her humanely, treat her like family, trying to get through to her. I mean, he's probably right in saying this, but Zuko's perspective on Azula was supposed to have shifted to be a little softer, I thought. Anyway, May takes this moment to tell Zuko her dad was the one leading the new Ozai society after all. And Suki lends Aang a couple of brain cells over here, and they both come to the realization that the new Ozai society and the Safe Nation societies are actually one and the same. Zuko's like, why the hell would you keep that from me? And May's like, he's my dad, you should understand that at least, which, okay, fair point. But don't be throwing the fact that I was talking to my dad on the down low at me, talking like it's one of the times I broke your heart, when you're actively keeping a very similar secret with arguably way more intense ramifications. What the hell, May? I don't know, man. May's becoming less and less likable as the story goes on. So last night, when there was all that chanting going on, May intuited that her dad knew the Kamuri Kage weren't legit, so she figures maybe he has something to do with the kidnappings, and might even be working with Azula. That's one way to write your story. One of your characters just gets a weird feeling and guesses the plot correctly. Sure, I mean, if you want. So Zuko commands one of his generals to find Ukano and his men and bring them to him, and if they can't find him, to search everyone's homes. Aang says, hey, hold on now, that doesn't sound good. Let me find him and we'll have a chat. Zuko says, we did it your way, but now it's time to act. And he has Aang escorted out of the palace. Now, the comic, I think, wants you to side with Aang here, but I think Zuko's been nothing but pragmatic so far. He listened to Aang, did his best to solve the situation with a cool head, and now he has a solid lead and is acting on it. The only thing I disagree with is the searching people's homes bit. I agree with Aang on that. That's pretty messed up. Doing that will just foster more distrust and undermine you even further. Aang's like, man, that guy really bothers me sometimes. Like, we didn't even check Ki'i's room for evidence. Suki's like, Sokka would have done that. That's a great idea. Let's go. Ukano and one of the Kamuri Kage bring Ki'i into the room of stolen children, and the ghost lady mentions that the sedative wore off early on Ki'i. Oh, that's why she was asleep while being flung around. Yeah, okay, comic, I guess you got me on that one. So it's a meeting of the Kamuri Kage, and it turns out that, yep, that one was Azula, no doubt. She casually drops a line that tells us her team of ghost ladies are all people she broke out of the institution she was put in by Zuko. Wait, how does that paperwork never make it to Zuko's desk? How was no one important aware of the 6 ladies being broken out of that place after Azula went missing? Isn't that a pretty easy 2+2 situation for Zuko? Azula and Ukano Ukano get a moment alone. Good, they've got some explaining to do here. Azula asks how much Ukano loves his country, and Ukano says, man, I emptied my bank account to build you this bunker. You know, I'm committed. But wait, is this not the same bunker you were using for your new Ozai Society meetings? Because that one was clearly in operation before your first visitation from the fake Kamurikage. So what, you built a whole new bunker? Ukano says even though he's all about this, don't get him wrong, he still doesn't like taking the kids from their families, and having his own son cooped up down here is really getting him down. Azula says, good, you're all in, so what I need out of you and your goons is a riot. For you to get what you want, I need to get what I want, which is a great question. What does Azula want here? She says, so you riot, because I said so. Ukano is still confused as to how this will get Ozai back on the throne, but Azula says, I believe to herself, since Ukano was leaving the room, that Ozai on the throne is not what she's aiming for. The investigation in Kii's room isn't getting anywhere, but then Ty Lee has a brain blast and remembers that Azula used to cheat at hide and seek using secret passages around the palace. And oh, would you look at that, I wonder where this goes. Down on the city streets, people are being told they can't leave the capital, and a lot of people want to so their kids don't get snatched up in the night. We're even seeing the army take to searching innocent people's homes, so yeah, this is a little fucked up. Also, this chapter and chapter 1 of this book, we see Fire Nation ostrich horses, which are never shown in the show. Those were uniquely Earth Kingdom mounts. I guess they shared the idea after the war ended. So yeah, sorry lady, we gotta upend your house in case Ukano is hiding in your cupboards. Get out of here, man. They're literally right outside my window chanting. Man, you guys are bad at your jobs. The army tries to stop the safe nationers, but it turns out the public are squarely on Ukano's side. It makes sense. The only people that have stopped the kidnappings are Ukano and his thugs. And that was in a very public setting. The only thing they've seen Zuko do is suspend his constable from his duties for gathering a force that saved a kid. Ukano's like, damn, this rioting setting shit's easy. Let me pour some fuel on the fire here and really get this shit going. Resist, he demands. Resist them with all your might. And by resist, I mean attack and throw pots through windows. It turns out that pot went flying through the window of the flower shop that May works at, and Kalo happens to be there at the moment. He comes out to see what's up, but one of his buddies from the old freedom fighting days says, we gotta shake the scene. They're arresting anyone connected to Ukano. But Kalo isn't anymore, but the army doesn't see it that way. Cut now to a blimp in the sky. It's Iroh, inbound from Ba Sing Se, here to celebrate National Tea Appreciation Day, which is a holiday he instated as interim Fire Lord when Zuko left to find Ursa. Which means this is implying one of two things. Either Iroh set that day to be like a month and a half after he took office, or it's already been a year since Zuko left to find Ursa. The second one doesn't track at all, so I guess it's the first. We rejoin Zuko getting briefed again, this time on the riot. May's displeased to hear her dad was there, and Zuko takes her hand as a show of support, but also like, come on. What's way more interesting than that is where we rejoin Zuko, right outside the prison just outside the capital, and we only know one prisoner in there that Zuko would care to go visit. The rioters are being transferred to the prison anyway, so the plot comes to them. They see Kalo being led away in chains, and May says, hey, sort this out, Fire Lord, this is a mistake, and Zuko's like, I don't know. Zuko accuses Kalo as being a double agent for the new Ozai Society, recalling back to how Kalo has betrayed his allies before, but glass houses, Zuko, remember that time you betrayed the entire Fire Nation? It doesn't matter that it worked out, or that you had a cool emotional roller coaster story to back it up. A betrayal is a betrayal. May says, come on, man, and Zuko relents like, alright. Then Kalo really just says it. He comes out with it. I know what this is about. Just accept she's with me now and life will be easier for everybody. Wow, and with a smile too? Are they trying to make me think that maybe Kalo isn't on the good guy's side after all? Aang's on the scene now and says Zuko's gotta come check out that secret passage, but Zuko says he's busy, so buzz off. So Aang pretty much forcibly air scooters Zuko and kidnaps the Fire Lord? Am I reading this right? Also, remember when Aang tried to teach the air scooter to those air nomad kids and said it was pretty tricky to stay on it? Couldn't Zuko just fall off on purpose? So we've arrived at the secret passage and everyone gets to say, yeah, wow, that's pretty cool. So here we go, the Scooby Gang back at it again. Ukano begs Azula to let the kids go. He did the riot, he did everything she asked, so now just let the kids go. Azula's like, yeah, sure. Well, Azula, having a brain in her head, says that if we let the kids go, they'll lead the Fire Lord right to our doorstep, so we will not be doing that. We'll let them go, you know, in the future. The kids are getting pretty restless too, except Kii, whose mind is an impenetrable fortress. She's over here practicing. What? She has no idea, but she's practicing. She saw Zuko doing this once in the courtyard and figures that this must be what makes him so sick. Also, now that I think about it, the Zuzu nickname thing from a couple issues back, did that really end up just being a coincidence, since neither Azula or Kii has mentioned it yet? That seems kind of whack. So here we go, the other side of the secret passage, and oh, it's a cemetery. Not what anyone was expecting. Why is there a secret passage from the roof of the palace to a cemetery? Turns out it's the royal family graveyard. I thought that's what the Dragonbone catacombs were for. Oh, Aang does too. But no, those are just for Fire Lords. This is for everyone else. Oh well, no time for semantics, because suddenly we're beset on all sides by fake Kamurikage. The characters wouldn't know this, but should they even be scared here? These are just ladies that were broken out of a mental ward. Who's to say they could even throw down? Though I guess Azula would have handpicked picked them, so hard to say. Iroh gets to the palace and finds it mostly empty, but finds Ursa and realizes something has gone wrong. Ukano is at the door to the children's room, crying. All he wanted to do was make sure everyone was safe, and now he's delivered all these children into the hands of the most dangerous person there is, maybe? Man, he really fucked this up. It's nice to see a human side of Ukano. In the previous 2 chapters, he was really one note, but it's because he was being forced to play this one note character by Azula, which retroactively does kinda save it, if you ask me. So I'm open to Ukano getting somewhere character-wise by the end of this. Everyone inside the room is like, what's that pathetic, horrible sobbing? But Ki's like, get out of my way, I got something figured out here, I bet. Ki melts a hole through the door with firebending. Turns out she's a firebender, she didn't even know. And she's gotta be a pretty good one, because metal doesn't just melt like this from nothing fire. Like, there's gotta be a lot of constant, very hot fire to melt metal like this. The door doesn't seem all that thick, but just think about the combat-enhanced firebenders versus a metal door toff, right? Also, this makes Ki a bender like Katara, one that doesn't have any genetic ties to bending, since neither of her parents are benders. Woo! It's go time! Cemetery fight scene, baby! The Kamurikage, wearing Azula's clothes, immediately makes a beeline for Mei, and would you look at that, it turns out it's Azula. That checks out. You know, Azula not being a big fan of Mei, she'd probably go for her first. Well, it's good Azula is here at the moment, and not back at the compound for the prison break. Azula weirdly tells a story in the middle of this fight, of her talking Mei into stealing some sweets when they were kids at a sleepover, and that entire night, Mei tossed and turned in her sleep, mumbling about the Kamurikage. So after Azula got free, she looked into them, and found they were dark revenge spirit ladies, and Azula thought, yeah, that's just about exactly what I've been about lately. Back to Azula hurling lightning around like she's Zeus, but Kalo gives her the old shoulder to the middle of the back sneak attack. You couldn't have, like, grabbed her, tried to restrain her to keep her from throwing actual lightning bolts at you? Kalo, the non-bender, and as far as I can tell, just like an average dude, takes a blast of lightning to his back, just like Aang, so it's the end for him. It was a good run, but Azula really wants to rub this victory in, telling her, not only did I kill your boyfriend, but also he was ugly. And holy shit, Azula can bend fire? Did you guys know that? Zuko's like, drop that corpse right now, asshole. Look, he's even a ghostly white already. And Mei, can you look like 10% more invested? At least get into a more engaged standing position. You look like you're waiting in line and they just said they're out of Italian herbs and cheese to the person in front of you. Azula's like, haha, you suck at having a girlfriend, Zuko, now die. Oh, never mind, Azula starts to run away after the enormous explosion. Mei's like, go get her, what are you doing? And Kalo, say it with me, is just fine. People in my comments argued with me that Azula probably uses a less severe version of lightning to quickly fire it, and I never liked that idea. Iroh's explanation has always been so cool to me, not to mention just correct up until the end of the original show. Before now, lightning has just been a move, like moderate charge up for insane output, like it's supposed to be crazy and limited. That's what made it cool, it was different. But with how it keeps showing lightning not being lethal, eventually you gotta crack and be like, yeah, okay, I guess she's using some watered down quickfire version that doesn't really even hurt someone if they get hit by it, which really doesn't fit Azula at all. Iroh literally likens lightning to her. It's like the technique is made for her, being a deadly, crazy kill move.
Some call lightning the cold-blooded fire. It is precise and deadly, like Azula.
Before the comics, lightning was basically a death sentence unless redirected, unless we're talking Korra, but I don't know anyone that liked what they did with lightning in Korra. Will I have an extended meltdown whining about how they've neutered lightning in every series of comics? No, only the ones where Azula's around. Meanwhile, Ukano's leading the kids out of the compound, and oh, never mind. Ursa's talking to Iroh about how she wished Ki still loved her. She made Ki last year for Ki's birthday present. The doll named Ki, I mean, you get it. But ever since Ursa got her face back, she won't touch it. Iroh says there's no reason to lose hope, and then Ursa asks if she can ask Iroh some real serious shit, and we can all see where this is going. She asks Iroh how he got over the death of his son, and Iroh says he's not over it. He'll never be over it. Of course he won't. As a parent, you want nothing more than for your child to be safe, but the world is an inherently dangerous place. All we can do is teach them to see the world clearly. And this finally gets into a big theme of the book, the relationships between parents and their children. Ukano is only acting this way because he wants to keep his children safe. Zuko's only acting this way because he wants to keep the people of his nation, according to that one guy back in the search, his children, safe. Ursa feels powerless to even connect with her child, afraid that she'll never be close enough to keep her safe ever again. And Iroh is still not over the fact that he couldn't keep Lu Ten safe. This book is trying to tackle the idea of overprotectiveness and acting without cause, on both the level of something as abstract as world politics to something as personal as your son or daughter, which is a really grandiose topic. It's a lot to swallow. Whether they've executed it well, maybe we'll talk about that more in the wrap-up. Back in in the graveyard fight, the other two Kamurikage are still trying to make Aang a permanent resident, and I don't know how long they were in that asylum for, but I'd be thinking twice about fighting the Avatar, cool ghost cloaks and masks or not. They somehow get above them, and Aang raises an earth pillar to make them bonk their heads, so a lot of head bonking in these latest comics. But they're down for the count, but where'd everyone go, wonders Aang. But then he hears someone calling for help from a nearby tomb. Oh, this is where the bunker is. Oh, hey kids, you've been down here the whole time, huh? Oh, hold on, I gotta deal with these fire whip ladies. Zuko is still hot on Azula's trail, but she runs into a crypt under a lion turtle, maybe, statue? Azula's chilling. She's even spouting off trivia about this being the first Fire Lord's advisor's grave. Zuko doesn't want to escalate the situation. He says Azula looks better, but Azula very much does want to escalate the situation. Aang's dueling the fire whip ladies and takes a breath at the wrong time and swallows a ton of smoke, and then he gets kicked in the back and he's dead. He's down. The Kamurikage are over here talking shit like, wow, are you sure this kid's the Avatar? That was easy. But Kia, here comes the cavalry. I swear May is the only one in the Avatar universe that knows about punching. The Kamurikage are equally as defeated from one kick to the back as Aang was, so May gets to reunite with Tom Tom. So Azula has stolen Zuko's signature fire daggers, and Zuko literally says, you wanna go? Let's go. Okay, come on. This conceptually feels like a DeviantArt drawing, but god, this kicks ass. This is awesome. They're literally having a lightsaber duel, and for some reason their fire seems solid here, like each of their fire streams can connect physically with each other. Doesn't last long though. Another classic, someone gets kicked and the fight is over. Azula rants over top of Zuko, like, I'm still way better than you, but Zuko says it doesn't matter, you'll never be the Fire Lord. But it turns out in Azula's self-imposed exile, she found clarity and peace of mind. She doesn't want to be the Fire Lord anymore. She knows her destiny now. It's to make Zuko into the Fire Lord she always wanted to be, maybe one that's even worse. Azula says, think about it. In the past day alone, I've had you confine your citizens to the capital and have had their homes invaded. It came naturally to you. You're just like father and I after all. Just think about what I can accomplish over the course of our entire lives. And once I've made you into the Fire Lord I always wanted to be, in a sense, I will be Fire Lord. Ah, I get it now. Azula brought him down here into the grave of the first Fire Lord's advisor because she'll be, in her own weird way, advising him from now on. One last disappearing smoke act from Azula, and Zuko is left alone to wrestle with the idea that she just left him with. Wait, get back here. Are you gonna explain how you and Ukano came up with the plan? I guess you just asked him after the second meeting with him after the comic cut away? Once Zuko exits the tomb, he's met with Kiyi, and everything seems to have worked out, except that whole Azula thing. Fast forward to the next morning, Ukano is being arrested, and Tom Tom is asking when he'll see him again, and oh man, that feels bad. Don't hit me with that. May takes Tom Tom and says, you deserve this, but good move letting all the kids go. That's what I appreciate about you. Tough thing to say around your little brother, right? Then we join Zuko giving an address about the whole kidnapping situation. Zuko says, listen, it happened, and man, you know, I could have done a better job as your Fire Lord, which is honestly what you want from your Fire Lord, I reckon, one that's willing to grow. Zuko says, I'll do better. I won't freak out as hard as I did because that's what happened. I freaked out and everyone paid the price. Got your home searched and shit? I shouldn't have done that. Meanwhile, Azula and our crew are looking on, loving hearing Zuko trying to clean up the mess she created. But seeing how her word bubble inverts colors when she starts talking, does she do a Batman voice with the mask on? Because that's the only thing I can think of, and if so, that is hilarious. Then we get a few panels in which Kalo breaks up with May. No dialogue or anything, it's all told through action, so it's hard to say what it's over, honestly. I mean, they won, right? Why break up now? Everything seemed great. Then we join Ursa, facing her fears and facing Ozai. Ozai tries his best to get the best of Ursa, but Ursa says that she finally sees Ozai for what he is. The man with no power that's trying to have it all. That's what he's always been. And Ozai starts to freak out, saying that Ursa has to get back here and bow to him, but Ursa just leaves, finally breaking free of his grasp, not just physically this time, but also mentally. Ursa finally goes to bed with Norn and Kiyi, and Kiyi seems to finally accept her, and the comic ends. Huh, I'm not sure why that happened. I guess Kiyi's 5 years old and she just kinda got over it, and that's where we close it out. So it's a really mixed bag for me. I think a lot of the writing and pacing and even character mentality continuity between comics was really all over the place. It always stayed engaging, like I was never bored, but the content felt more surface level than the past comics. There were interesting themes like I talked about, but I feel like they weren't explored or played around with like other comics accomplished. What it came down to in the end was sort of the uneasy conclusion that Iroh came to in his chat with Ursa. It's do your best and hope everything works out, and luckily everything did work out. And while that is a very realistic sentiment to put in your book, it's also not a very satisfying way to build a story. Positives are, you're not gonna believe this, Azula. I know a lot of people don't like this turn for her character, but compared to her just being a complete whack job, come on. There's also a lot of people that think Azula needs a redemption arc, and I never understood that. While yes, I agree, everyone deserves a second chance, there's also room for villains just to be villains. And that's what I see Azula as, a villain. And this comic lets her be villainous. She's orchestrated this whole thing. She's got a whole new crew. She's got a new look. She's got a new goal in life. Awesome. I know there's lots of kinds of people out there that want different things for this character, but to me, this is an absolute win. Another positive I can think of is that this wasn't Aang's story. He was around, but he was a supporting character. And I think this universe is strong enough to have stories like this where the main character of the show doesn't necessarily have to be the main character of the comic. Also, Zuko and Mei being outside of Ozai's prison in that one scene was never mentioned again. I guess Zuko could have been there just to be like, oh yeah, I'm seeing all the people that were rioting, even though I'm only getting briefed on it now. So like, how would he know to be there? So to me, that feels like he went to talk to Ozai again, but it's never mentioned. Maybe that's in a future comic, I don't know. Ukano wasn't so bad in the end either. I like that he got a bit of an arc, realizing what he did was wrong, even though his intentions were pure. Just like how Zuko realized what he did was wrong, even though his intentions were pure. A nice little parallel there. I just wish our themes were a little more prevalent and our pacing was a little stronger. So in the end of it all, how does Smoke and Shadow stack up? Well, in the face of the rift, it is definitely disappointing. But for the Avatar comics as a whole, I'd say it's about middle of the pack. Patron shoutouts if you want to see 2 brand new videos from me. You can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons. Agent Rhino, who has an energy field around them that lets them put whatever they want on food and no one gives them shit. Pineapple on pizza, ketchup on steak, it doesn't matter. Danger Stranger, who may have caused some sort of cosmic calamity when he tried to make a star in the sky into a shooting star with his mind, and it worked. Gift Misher Vaughn PTA, who created a long-lasting friendship with a sperm whale through their mutual appreciation of aggressive investing strategies. Omega Fighter, who yawned once, which caused a yawn chain that lapped the globe 4 times. Sean Martin, who plugged a power bar into itself and solved the Earth's energy crisis. Stephanie Riches, who brought a Nerf gun to a real war and still walked away with 6 kills. Thomas Lautenbach, who rolled a scrambled up Rubik's Cube down Mount Kilimanjaro, and when it got to the bottom, it was solved. Tiago Nascimento, who can mine Bitcoin by just thinking about it. Tis Just Lee, who got flashbanged once, and when their vision came back, they were in a reality where we evolved from apes instead of porcupines, so he's just been rolling with it. Varunda, who has simply taught a single monkey to write Shakespeare, completely removing the need for the other infinite amount of monkeys. And Whitrow, who wasn't aware their ability of turning water into wine was a big deal until like last week, and now they're getting a lot of weird phone calls. And of course, my god overanalyzers, Two Boots Are Beat, Andrew Watred, Alex Rodriguez Flores, Austin Gallup, Daniel Anderson, Devoted 221, Dizzy Payne, Dominic Saint, Distant, Aaron Grace, It's Carton, Jackson, John Ajaka, Justin Fletchall, Mr. Freese, Nicholas Abbott, Phil, Pogger White, Reese, Rocket Miss, Ryan Maxwell, Samuel Vanderplatz, Super Snipper, Turt Bobs, and I don't know if you guys realize this, but there's like a bear face on this list. Next up, another comic? I could have something else cooking up, we'll see.